this is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're going to look at the Lenovo IdeaPad Y500. This is Lenovo's affordable gaming monster, 15.6 inches, full HD 1080p display, dual NVidia GT500M graphics cards, wicked, and a latest quad-core 3rd generation Ivy Bridge i7 CPU inside. You can get it with 8 gigs of RAM, you can get it with 16 gigs of RAM, you can get it with an assisting SSD drive, and you always get this nifty backlit red keyboard. We're going to look at it now. So the Lenovo IdeaPad Y500, well, the first thing we're going to talk about is the looks, because the Lenovo Y series, particularly the Y580 that we've been covering before this, precedes this model, probably will eventually disappear, was not a very attractive looking notebook. But you figured, hey, you got a lot of value for the money, what can you ask for? Great looks too? Well, in this case, it's actually improved. Yes, it's a black slab, but it's a more stylish looking black slab. Now we have a kind of brushed metal looking finish on the top here. Definitely a little bit of improvement. They say that it's fingerprint resistant. I find that it picks up fingerprints pretty well. Now, certainly it's better than gloss plastic, but you can still see there's fingerprints on this, and I wiped this guy down, well, about 3 minutes ago. But from the front, notice the kind of book style that we have here. That's because this is really showing its heritage to the IdeaPad U series, which is Lenovo's most stylish IdeaPad series machine. So it's kind of nice looking. It makes it look a little bit narrower. It's actually not that super thick of a machine, given that it's a 15.6 inch powerhouse computer. We take a look at the side here. There we can see our copper heatsink there for our graphics card. Kensington lock slot, USB 2.0 port, always on power, audio jacks, mic and headphone, with SPDIF by the way. Back to the front where we started. SD card slot, full size. We have a blank in there right now. And we have a whole bunch of status LEDs beside it. On this side we have matching heatsink. This is not the removable section, but Lenovo does a nice job with the symmetry. You can see we have our power port right there, our one key recovery button, standard Lenovo feature, VGA port, gigabit Ethernet, full-size HDMI, and 2 USB 3.0 ports. On the back, nothing but, well, hinge. Nice, beefy, strong hinge. A little gloss going on here. Lenovo likes to mix up their surfaces a lot. Well, I'm not so sure that that's a good idea, but it's up to you. And on the bottom, you can see a huge venting area, and there are indeed fans under here. If you take the cover off, you can see them. Removable battery. There's our latches. This is our graphics card module. We'll show you about yanking that guy out if you want to swap that in with a DVD burner, for example. Little vent right here. The RAM is actually underneath that vent. So a lot of ventilation going on. And again, here's that symmetry, that look. This being the Ultrabay right here. This being, well, just decorative to match it. But we have a whole lot of ventilation going on. Now we've got our rubber feet here. And to remove this top, it's just straight Phillips head screws. Nothing suspicious, nothing weird there. They're not trying to stop you from getting inside this guy. And we open it up and we see one of my favorite features. Hey, I can't help it. I have boy racer attitude about these things, but I love this red backlit keyboard here. And this is Lenovo's typical wonderful AccuType keyboard. So it doesn't just look cool, it's a real pleasure to type on. Nice smile-shaped keys there. Good separation, which you would expect certainly for a 15.6 inch notebook. Just a pleasure to type on. And we've got a little number pad off to the side. Important to you number crunchers, important to you gamers also. Big trackpad here, offset a bit since we do have the number pad on the side. Behaves fairly well. Not my favorite trackpad, I have to say, but it does decently. It supports swipe gestures. Once in a while it just seems to go a little on me, and I have to tap a couple of times to get it to wake up. Probably a driver update will fix that. Our power button is glowing right up here, and we have our slightly red speaker grills here. This has JBL speakers built in, 1.5 watts each. Really nice sound on this, I have to say. Dolby Home Theater 4 approved. As you would expect from something that's supposed to be a multimedia gaming notebook, the speakers are pretty darn decent on it. And we have a full 1080p display here. 1920 by 1080 coming at you. Nice looking, not a touchscreen. Bummer. I don't know what it is about gaming notebooks, but so far, really, you just don't see them with touchscreen so far. That says a pretty nice screen. It is a glossy screen. It is a glary screen. 220 nits of brightness, not super duper bright. Perfectly adequate for indoor use, but doesn't combat sunshine real well. And it has this really nice show-offy screensaver which puts your GPU cycles to good use. So what do you get inside for this configuration that we're looking at, which was pretty much, it's all themes and variations on the same thing from Lenovo US. If you go to order it yourself or if you look in stores, it's going to be the 2.4 gigahertz Intel Core i7-3630QM. That's a quad-core 8-thread processor. Obviously the 1080p display, 15.6 inch. 500 to 1 contrast ratio on that, by the way. You can order it with either 8 or 16 gigs of DDR3 1600 megahertz RAM. It has 2 RAM slots inside. Terabyte hard drive. Optional is a 16 gig caching SSD. That adds about $60 onto the cost one way or the other. For $11.99 you're going to get that built in. Dual band Intel Centrino wireless N2230 that is compatible with WiFi. And Bluetooth also, that's integrated in with the Intel Centrino adapter. Weighs 5.95 pounds starting weight. I suspect that is without even having the graphics card module in there. Let's just call it 6 pounds. So for a machine with this much power, that's really not a bad weight at all. But obviously this is not Ultrabook. You're going to feel this when you carry it around. 0.6 to 1.4 inches thick depending on where you measure it from. And we've already covered the ports, so you know it has a healthy sampling of ports. And of course the showcase is the dual NVidia GT650M graphics card, each with 2 gigs of RAM, video RAM. And those graphics cards run in SLI configuration. This does not have Intel HD 4000 graphics. You're running on the GT650M all the time. And that's why despite the big 72 watt per hour battery, well, Lenovo says you'll get up to 3 hours runtime on a charge. Not super duper long. And for models with that dual graphics card, which is, like I said, just about all of them right now, at least in the US, and Lenovo says that US retail stores are getting all the models are going to have the dual graphics card. 170 watt brick charger. Check this out. Wow, this is, well, pretty darn big. Pretty darn hefty. So a significant weight, especially because you're going to need this with you since it doesn't have terribly long battery life. Again, that's the price you pay when you get a performance notebook. So to swap your graphics card in and out of the bay, if you want to use the fan, the optional hard drive caddy, the optical drive, first you have to take the battery out, which is no big deal. You just release the latches, slide the battery out. Here's the battery right here. 72 watt per hour over 6,000 milliamps, but still not very big. Slide that out, then there's another hidden release latch over here that you have to slide, and then you push this guy down while you pull the graphics card out. And here's what the graphics card looks like. Ultrabay module, Ultrabay connector right here, pretty red fan, nice copper heatsink to make you feel all high performance there. Backside. And again, it's an Ultrabay module, so you can get DVD burner drive, you can get a hard drive caddy, or you can just get for $29 an auxiliary fan to put in there, which you really probably don't need when you're running with just one graphics card, to be honest anyway, but it can make you feel good. And put it back in. Just snaps it right in, not hard at all. Put our battery back. They obviously do not want you pulling out your graphics card while your system is powered on, hence the release latch is hidden underneath the battery, and you're ready to go. Alright, so we have an awful lot of power in a medium-sized package. Does that mean it's going to burn your hands in your lap? No, it doesn't. This is really very effective here. This very large ventilation grill with the big fans behind it, it actually works, folks. Not to mention lots of ventilation here, lots of copper going on for good heat sink. It does not get unbearably hot. It does not get unbearably loud. Now, we've used this for playing games for 3 hours at a shot, and I'm talking about demanding games. And the fan is on, you can hear it, but it is not running like a vacuum cleaner. It's not an obnoxious sound. Understandably, whenever you're going to be playing, say, Mass Effect 3 multiplayer for 3 hours, you know, it's going to get warm, but it does not get burning hot, which is pretty good. Certainly the keyboard deck stays comfortable, gets warm, not hot. Here you're going to feel some heat coming out of this vent area, but not enough to burn you either. I mean, still, I personally would keep this on a desk or a laptop cooler if you're going to subject it to that kind of gaming, but overall, really good job with the cooling. Now, for those of you who game, obviously this should be on your short list unless you have a real big budget and you can afford a top-of-the-line Asus Republic Gamer or MSI's gaming laptops, certainly an Alienware, you're talking about a lot of money there, or that really nice Samsung gamer machine. But for those of us who do live on something of a budget, really this is an amazing amount of bang for the buck, and it does really well with games, no kidding. With that kind of graphics power, it should. Yes, there are graphics cards that are higher end even than the GT650, but we've got two of them in SLI here, so that's okay. We have a separate gaming demo video so you can see how this does, and we tried things like Crysis 3. We don't go with the easy games here. We're going to really test it out and see how it fares, and let me tell you, it does quite well. This is a machine that should also age fairly well for those of you who are worried about, well, it can play today's games, but what about next year's? Yeah, it should be okay. You may not always be able to run on all high settings if you're playing at 1080p, but you'll get at least medium settings, good looking quality in most games, which is pretty darn good for those really demanding games. For games that aren't insanely demanding, even say Skyrim, no problem running gangbusters with all high settings. Now for things other than gaming, let's face it, gaming these days, 3D gaming is one of the most demanding things you can make a computer do. For video editing, absolutely awesome performance. For office use, mega overkill. Certainly more performance than you're going to need. If you're going to do code and development on this, certainly fine. Adobe Flash development, yes, it's awesome for that. And you can see our Windows Experience Index here, and my guess is that, well, Windows Experience Index may be only looking at one graphics card, because, as you can see here, our processor got a 7.8, and this is at a scale of 1 to 9.9, by the way. RAM, 7.9, that's great, that's dandy. Both desktop graphics and 3D graphics got a 6.4. That seems like a little bizarre to me. I don't know about what's going on with Windows Experience Index there. And the disk got a 5.9. That's because inside here we have a 1 terabyte 5400 RPM hard drive. Spinning hard drives score around 5.9. Our configuration does have the 16 gig SATA drive to assist it and speed things up a little bit, like boot times and application launch times, but that's really not going to improve your overall disk performance. For our synthetic benchmark tests on PC Mark 7, it scored 3459. That's a solid number. 3D Mark Vantage, it scored 19,758, and that's with processor at 13,968 and graphics at 12,725. And in 3D Mark 11, we got a 3682 score. So to test out video playback performance, we have a 1080p MPEG-4 movie trailer here. It's going to play at native resolution on this screen, and since this is full Windows 8 64-bit, you have your choice of using the Metro UI video player or Windows Media Player. We're just using the Metro player right now, but we'll play that and you can hear the speaker. Speaker volume right now is set to 60%, by the way.
It was to know about my adventures.
Nice sounding, right?
Well, I can honestly say I have told you the truth. I may not have told you.
Plays fine. Very nice looking screen. Good colors.
I'm looking for someone to share in.
Certainly a great screen for consuming multimedia, and also if you're editing too. Now, graphics professionals might not be too thrilled with that glossy display, but it is pretty hard to find a matte display in something this powerful. And you can see here we have the standard Windows 8 UI, and they've customized it so you get the five tiles up and down right here rather than 3. A little bit better use of space. Perfectly fine, perfectly responsive, and we can use the trackpad to do our gestures here, which we have to do, again, because it's not a touch screen. And for those of you who are not into that, we can get right to our desktop, no problem. The ThinkPad has a 1 megapixel webcam up front, 720p video recording, built-in microphone. Of course, it also has the external microphone jack, and front camera quality is pretty good. Certainly good enough for Skype video chat, that kind of thing. In our tests so far, Wi-Fi has been reliable on both the 2.4 and 5 gigahertz bands. We've had no trouble with that, and again, it does support wide-eye. So clearly, this is capable of doing more than just playing games, though Lenovo is positioning this particularly as a gaming machine with those two NVidia GT650M graphics cards inside and the red backlit keyboard and the red accents, that kind of thing. But really, for anybody who needs some power, again, for those of you who work with 1080p video processing, a great machine to have. Software development, fine. It's really great for anybody who needs serious Core i7 power and lots of graphics power in a reasonably compact package. To be honest, 6 pounds really isn't that bad, and it's got a fairly trim look to it, and certainly it's more svelte, say, than some of MSI's gaming machines. For those of you who kind of need to cross over and actually carry it with you, say, if you're going to college or something like that, or if you're actually traveling and using this both for business and for fun. It is more portable. Of course, you have that Mondo power brick to take with you too. Don't forget that. So that's the Lenovo IdeaPad Y500. It's available now. Again, as configured here, supposedly it's around $1,100, $1,200, but Lenovo always has specials, and right now it's more like $900 on their website. Really, really awesome amount of bang for the buck here. It's hard to beat. If you need a performance laptop and don't care about extreme portability, this is the one to get. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Visit our website for the full review, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.